But the moment I say that I'm not going to succumb to this because this is my purpose, this is something that I want to contribute to the society, come what may. And I think then the path is absolutely clear.
I love working with these women because what actually happens is they doubt themselves because they didn't grow up with social media. They didn't grow up with LinkedIn. They're not sure how it all works.
In psychology, we define career as anything that makes you productive.
So at this moment, I will say focus on the present, set your goal into bite size, where you can achieve it in the quickest span of time.
Self-talk is the most important. There is nobody out there who's going to encourage you as much as you can.
Your image must be an inspiration for change because you can be the power for change.
Hello, everyone. Happy morning, happy afternoon, and happy evening. I wish you all of that as you will be watching this episode of The Revolving Perspectives from various corners of the world. As you all know, here on this platform, we are interviewing in this independent series on the occasion of the International Women's Day celebrating womanhood, where we are talking to women entrepreneurs from different domains, from various sectors, and understanding how they look at womanhood, how they're celebrating it, and what wisdom that they can share with us, and what insights that we can pick up, what learning that we can pick up from all of them. Wish all of you a very happy International Women's Day. That's today. And today we are going to talk to a lady from a business corporate world where she is going to share her insights with us. She is the managing director of Rehav. This company is into furniture and lot of material making. We will get to know about that in our post that we share with this video on YouTube channel and all the other platforms that we generally share. She is also a board member with lots of companies, sharing her experience and knowledge and helping them with their sales and their growth of the business. Let me welcome Bhavana Bindra and let's understand from her how she looks at womanhood and how she looks at the business world and women working in this world. Welcome, Bhavana ma'am. Okay, so it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Great. So as I was sharing about you, the first thing that I want to ask you is there's so many accolades, so many awards attached to you, and they are there in your crown. How do you look at your journey? What inspired you? What vision did you start working? Were you always an ambitious woman like this?
Ambition is a very strong word, but I would say a lot of what I am today has been part of my upbringing and the values which I think all of us get inculcated with in our childhood. So whether it is, let's say, from my father, who's of course no more now, but in terms of hard work, discipline, and conviction, those are three values that I took from him. He was somebody who worked in the same organization for more than 4 decades.
Okay.
And even when he retired, it was almost like maybe we were all after him to stop working because we wanted to spend more time with him. So he was that kind of an individual. My mother, somebody who was very caring. In fact, till date, she manages a lot of things for me, which helps me get here and be part of the whole corporate arena and be able to do several things that I do today. So a very selfless and a caring individual. So that's a set of values I get from her. And of course, I have an elder sister who is somebody who always believed in my potential. And that is something that I take from her. So for me, it's always about, believing that there is more than we always think we have in each of us. And of course, parallel to that, it's not just about believing what others can do as a leader. That's important for me. But also believing that there are many boundaries which each of us can push for ourselves. So every time I have found myself in a comfort zone, it's been about, okay, let's get out of this comfort zone. Let's make life a little more uncomfortable, because that's the only way you grow. So to me, to be honest, it was always about pushing boundaries, right? So it was, like I said, ambition is a very strong word, but yes, pushing boundaries was always a way of life. Being out of your comfort zone was a habit. And of course, treading the path less taken was always something that I drove towards. So every time somebody said that this cannot be done, or that nobody has tried this, all the more reason for me to try it out without worrying whether one would fail or succeed. The whole experiment with just trying it out was worth the effort. So that's how I have, made my journey, and I continue to do that. So it's still ongoing, is how I would put it.
Great, great. So many things that I gathered in just one thing that you said. Thank you. But then this is again pushing me to this question of mine, because I am sure that all the audiences and including me, I have this question. We all start our journeys, at the onset of our academic career thing. Academically, we do something and then we start our professional journey. On that onset, were you like this, or you kept gathering things across, over the journey slowly?
I am continuing to gather. So to be honest, for me, it was always, about learning. Like I said earlier, about trying out different things, about experimenting. And the more it was not tried, the more it seemed it couldn't be done, or it would be very difficult to deal with. All the more reason I would push myself for it. And to be honest, I think I've had people supporting me through the journey. I've had people who believed in my potential, like I said earlier. And so for them, it was like, yeah, you can do it. Just try it out. Give it your best shot. So it was always about, let's not worry about success or failure. Let us enjoy just trying it out and just attempting to do it. And more often than not, if you go with that, it's like life. You should not always just be aspiring towards an end. It is more about the journey towards it that one should be enjoying. So that's to be honest how it's always been, and to be very fair, it has not changed.
Wow.
I still continue to be doing it. I still continue to be looking at opportunities, whether personal or professional, which have not been tried. And to me, it's also comes with a thinking that, okay, if I can try it out, and maybe because I have the support, maybe because I have the experience, the capability to deal with it. If I try it out, it would give several others the courage to also make such attempts. So while that's not where I began, it was more about my own self and my journey. I think for me now, after more than 2 decades in the corporate world, it is also about not just me, myself, but how I can support others to deal in the same manner, to enjoy in the same manner, and to grow, with your learnings in the same manner.
Wow. Wow. So I have been listening to it as a human being, any individual doing this journey and thinking about learning and everything should be thinking on the same lines, which I gather now. Is there any specific perspective coming from you as a woman? Do you want to say something related to women in this corporate world while they make their journey?
Right. So you're right. It is easy to say that, yeah, it applies to men and women. And in a lot of cases, it does. But I think the biggest value that women bring to the table, especially in a man's world, which in a lot of cases it is the fact that we are different. And it is that difference which in several places is referred to as diversity.
Yes.
Is what value we bring. So to me, I think it's not an easy journey. I mean, the first organization, or rather my second organization, the first which had a significant male ratio. I mean, we were just 7% women. That first organization, in the course of more than a decade that I was associated with it, moved from a 7% to over 30% women ratio. And the point is that, you know, any organization, including that particular one, is part of a culture, a patriarchal culture, which has very deep-rooted, sense of males being at the helm of professional affairs. And patriarchy is a way of life. It's something which we've all grown up with. I mean, at least
Yes.
till the generation, and I see it even ahead. But that doesn't mean that there isn't an opportunity for women to make a place for themselves.
Hmm.
It is not straightforward.
Hmm.
There are a lot of preconceived notions.
Yes.
In many cases, those preconceived notions may also be well founded. For instance, yes, women need to deal with childbirth, maternity, or in some cases, bringing up children also ends up becoming something that women would rather do than leave it to, the male member of the household. So those may be, in some cases, choices women make. In other cases, those are choices imposed on them, right? And because of those, sometimes the preconceived notions are also further perpetuated. So, which means, I hire a woman. I mean, let's say I am a male manager and I've hired a woman, and I know the job requires significant travel. And my biggest worry will be, okay, what if she needs to stay back?
Yes.
And because there's a sick child, or because the husband is traveling, or something. And the truth is, yeah, that happens.
Yes.
In some cases, there may be understanding spouses who will take on a lion's share of the work during that time frame. But in very many cases, maybe a woman also chooses to do it and
Yes.
says that, no, I'm not okay leaving a sick child or a child with examinations going on or something. And sorry, but I can't travel. Now, what that does is it further aggravates that whole notion. See, I told you it won't work.
Correct.
For organizations and leaders who have tried doing that journey, this is a reality that has to be dealt with.
Yes.
In many cases, women will go out of the way to prove themselves, to prove that they can do it, maybe in several cases do it even better. But there will be other cases where this will need to be done, because this is a whole societal shift that needs to happen
Absolutely.
until the day the woman feels comfortable. So for me, the whole journey as a corporate professional is, in that sense, especially in the context of our society here in India, has been different for women, and it won't change overnight. It will be a while. It will need more women at the top to be understanding and encouraging, and like I said, to be believing in the potential or the value that women bring to the table. But it also needs an equal amount of conviction from the women who want to make it happen. So, it's there's a saying in Hindi, right, which translates as, you can't clap with one hand.
Correct.
You need two hands.
Absolutely.
So it is as much for the people at the helm of affairs to understand as it is for women to get out of their traditional roles and push the boundaries to make it happen. Long answer to your short question.
No, but by that you answered my two more questions. But I have one more thing now to ask you. Not only as a corporate woman, into this business world, which is very demanding, which is ruthless at times, because ultimately business does not know emotions, and it does not run also only by emotions. I wouldn't say that emotion does not have a role to play, but then yes, our focus on business is more on numbers than the emotion part. where the whole corporate world is taking us as a society. And then actually related to that, I wanted to ask you about the place of women in the whole thing, which partly you have answered. Probably you can club a little, while answering this.
So say a little more. What exactly is your question?
I'll tell you. I wanted to ask you that this corporate world is quite demanding, and it will be like that with the advancements that are happening in the technology and every new invention that is coming up. So we can't deny the kind of ambitious thing which is happening over there. Now, you being part of that world, what do you think? Where is it taking us as a society?
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's a very good question. And my thought on that is uh, the corporate world, in a way, is very much a reflection of what we as a species or within that as a society are.
How
So,
beautiful. Yes.
so whether it is in the form of uh, our business practices,
Mhm.
it is in the form of how we deal with each other at workplaces. I like I just talked, like, I mean, just picking up from the example or the point I was making earlier,
Hmm.
there's this whole preconceived notion of what women can or cannot do, or even before that, being part of patriarchy has certain expectations of what men should do and what women should do, how men should behave, how women should behave, and we see it in several manners.
Hmm.
So, to me, in the same way as how easy or difficult it may be for women coming from patriarchy into a corporate world that may also be a reflection of that patriarchy, in that same way, the corporate world in general, in each and every aspect, does reflect of how we are as a species or within it as different societies in that.
Right, right. Wow. So when we look at it as a reflection, then I think it is more of self-reflection and contemplation. We look inside that how we are, and that's the reflection that we are seeing. So no point in saying that, so much of advancement and so much of demanding thing, then how do I stand by that and how do I prove myself? Because ultimately it's our own reflection. That's a beautiful
Yeah,
message that I get.
and thanks for putting it in such a beautiful manner. Uh, it actually reminds me of a time where, and it's a very small example, but somebody asked me once. I was sharing with them my leadership journey, and they asked me. They said, "So how different is the bhavna at work from the bhavna at home?"
Mhm.
In other words, how different would my, let's say, daughter or spouse or in-laws find me
Mm.
from how my team, my colleagues, my seniors may find me? And the bottom line is, and this is something which I would really want everybody to keep in mind. The bottom line is you need to be the same person everywhere,
Yes.
because otherwise you are not being authentic, and not being authentic is not going to get you very far in a happy state so that you can make a difference to several other lives. So it's important to be authentic wherever you are, because that's the only way you will make a true impact, and people would actually want to lead the kind of life that you may have experienced or emulate some portion of it. I mean, it's not about, people need to exactly live the way you do, but they take pieces of it which
Yeah.
they can associate with, right? So for me, being authentic is a big part of it. So yes, I told my team member, I said, maybe it's not happy, maybe it's happy for them at home, but yeah, what you see me here is exactly what they see you there. And of course, we had a good laugh about it, but that's how it is.
Wow. Taking it forward, I would just say one more thing here is not being authentic also leads to a lot of internal struggles, and you end up wasting a lot of energy dealing with them. Because when you're different somewhere else, you're different at home, and then you are not finding that peace with yourself. Does that happen? Do you think so? If
Absolutely, which is, I mean, that's the reason you make an impact, because you're being authentic. Because otherwise, most of your energy is spent in trying to be somebody you are not.
correct.
And I think that's a big part of also the struggle several women end up facing, where they need to fit into molds
Yes.
made up over decades, maybe centuries. And the idea is actually about breaking the mold. And the only way you break the mold is by being authentic. So be yourself and be the person that you are, because that's the value that is needed in the organizations, in the spheres, personal or professional, that you get to.
Wow. I already take it as a great message on this special day. Let me just say it once, because I've been saying it throughout all my interviews, wherever I talk to various women from different domains, that though this is one day, it is just symbolic. Let's celebrate womanhood every moment, every day, and throughout the year, because it's not to be celebrated only for that day and forget about it just like that. So, while concluding our interview, I would like you to give that keynote message to everybody listening to this interview, not only women, because our society is a good combination of men, women, and all the age groups also. So, what would you like to tell them as a keynote message from a corporate lady?
If I haven't given enough keynote messages, maybe I'll think of one more and give. And I think I would like to emphasize one of the things that I already said, which is, especially whether men or women, I think each of us brings different values. We often think of diversity as being a gender-led thing, whereas diversity is a simple English term that celebrates the differences between each of us. And I think the only way we move forward is when there are newer, different ideas, ways of doing things. And hence, it's important that whether a man or a woman, we need to encourage differences and we need to celebrate differences. That's how I would summarize it.
Wow, thank you so much, Bhavana ma'am, for sparing this time and sharing all these perspectives and these messages with us. I'm sure that our audiences will definitely reflect by that. I'm sure that the interviews will definitely tell them that there are certain questions that everybody needs to ask themselves and find those answers. What I am taking out from this interview is the authenticity part. One cannot be different at different places. It's about your character, and if it's the same, then you can put in all the energy to go do something that you always wanted to do, dreamt of, and make it a reality. Thank you so much for being here with us, and with your message I'll conclude this interview. Thank you.